Welcome back, guys, to another live stream. My name's Mike, aka Decimal Punked, and we are back in the Unreal Engine 5.5.4. I'm not going to do a massive introduction like the last few streams, but those of you that have been following the project will have seen all the work I've been doing on this. And I mentioned in the last stream, I'm not going to be doing a sound perception on the robots because I feel it will just make the game way too difficult. It's already difficult enough, I guess, with the 5-second delay on being locked in position whilst you're looting. So what I did in the last stream earlier today was I was implementing the attack logic from the robot. So if we just find the robot, we'll turn around hopefully. So he'll attack us, deal damage. So there's a 5-second immunity. The player has immunity for 5 seconds. Then it will attack. And what I was working on, guys, was this logic here for basically stunning the player. So what I've got is under the robot where we damage the player. Essentially, we're targeting the player's health. On the behaviour tree, that animation's playing, and after 1 second, that's basically roughly the time after the animation's played that it will deal damage to the robot. Sorry, to the player. And the logic for that is under here. So we get the health of the player. We deduct 1 health, and then after 3 seconds we allow the player to move. So within the player character we have this logic for if they get hit by the robot they can't move. And then we say that the player's being damaged. I think there was something. Oh yeah, and then we trigger the damage immunity. The damage immunity after a 5-second delay, we turn off damaged player, which basically means the robot will chase after them again. So at the moment, in order for us to not be able to move, we need our collision box to overlap with a robot. And it's not triggering at the moment. It was earlier when I was testing this. Oh yeah. So overlap pawn. So what I'm basically going to do, guys, is we need to do like a capsule collider on here. So I should be able to add, if I add, yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go onto the skeletal mesh. Because if we go on there, the skeletal mesh is that. So So we want to get the right hand, and we want to add a socket, and we'll call this we'll call it stun socket. We'll save, and then you can basically go on here. So I should be able to if I add it to the mesh, stun socket, there we go. So that is basically his stun. There we go. So now he's got a collider on his hand. And then what we can do is we should be able to give that a tag of stun, compile, save, and then we need to go down to the collision. It's already set to overlap all dynamics, so we can leave that. So if we overlap with that, so we know that on the right hand that's on there. So if I oh, I wonder, is that because I wonder if that's because that might be inheriting... No, surely not. See, it's a child of that. If I moved it... We'll just do that. So it's overlap all dynamic. If we just do overlap all. Why is that not working? What the fudge? It's on there. I'm wondering if we did overlap pawn, if that's going to make a difference. What the fudge, dude? Why is that not registering? Let's put it into the other component. So I know that's got the tag stun. I literally... And tag, stun. Component tags. Let's plug that in there and see if that makes a difference. Welcome to the stream. Where's he gone? Hey, it worked that time. Okay. Right, so we're getting stunned here because whenever we touch that box, so essentially he also needs to remove 2. He needs to remove 2 health from the player. And then what we need to do is just look at the logic because Actually, instead of having the wait on there, because he plays the animation and he waits a second, if we actually put the wait in the code, I think that's gonna work better. So let me just do that. And we're just waiting for 1 second. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize that. And we're going to look at the behaviour tree to see why. I'm wondering if it's that. I don't think it would. Oh, I see. The delay is affecting... The delay is affecting the robot. Got ya. I've got ya. So the delay is that's affecting the robot actually being able to move. That's why. Pretty sure it's that. So essentially, the reason why the robot looks like he's idling is because of the delay in here. So this 1 second delay is so that once the animation's played, we then deal the damage. But as for this delay, we can just... The only purpose of that is to do this. So we're going to do a delay of 3 seconds. So that's basically the stun lock the player receives. And then we're going to get the character movement. And we're going to activate it. Okay. So 3 second delay, activate. What did I call that? Enable movement. So now, if we playtest that, he attacks us. Oh! Interesting. No, we don't want non-blocking. I think doing the non-blocking means that we're not going to get the health triggered until the animation's played. But I did see a parallel sequence that I've not used before, and I have a feeling if we did that... Let's see. No damage is dealt. And then we get the damage. Did you see that, guys? So he's gonna attack us, and then we don't get damage dealt until after the animation. There we go. Okay, so that's because the blocking's turned off. If the blocking was on, non-blocking on, it means this would happen directly after the animation's been done. But I did notice a parallel. Simple parallel allows for running two children, one which must be a single task node. Basically, what we want to do is let me just test that again. So when we walk up to him, we know that Collider's there, we get stun locked. Damage is dealt, he waits 1 second. I need to see if it goes to that wait 1 second up the top right. No, it doesn't. So it doesn't actually go to the 1 second. So we need to somehow read you need to get the animation that's playing. And then if an animation is playing, then we enable that. Because this capsule is the one that stuns. Because it has the tag stun. So in here, we freeze the player if they are hit. Hold on. I mean, there's a way we can do that. We can... A couple of ways we could do this. Just give me a second, guys. Attack the player. Let me have a sip of the coffee. Attack the player. Play the animation and then go and then go straight into that. Because I want the player to be stun locked. If the robot touches them, they should be stun locked because they've kind of been caught. So, I mean, the other easy option here is to just, on the enemy, if we remove that and just basically had another capsule collider but bigger. I think that might be the safest bet there, maybe. So when we collide with the trigger on the robot's arm, we get stun locked. But players can be unpredictable. So if I put in a capsule collider that was bigger on the robot, so that when it ran into the player, it stuns them. But the player should be avoiding the robot. So if they decided to just run up behind a robot to look at it and then run off, if they were to touch the robot, they'd get stunned. So... because the whole 1 second delay you basically have the 1 second delay in here, and that's basically a delay to allow the right time on the robot's hand. So when it swipes, that's the point at which it looks like the impact happens, and then after that we deal the damage. So we're dealing the damage to align with the point the hand hits. So, I mean, if a player collides with a robot, I mean, if I was just to make that a 4 second delay, that allows the 1 second time, and if I just put that at the end, so let's see how that looks. Ah, that's because I need to turn on the non-blocking. So that allows basically the animation to do its thing and then immediately go straight onto that. So they essentially both happen at the same time. Now it should work. So the robot spots us. We dodged him. Okay, I feel like we need to do... a wait afterwards of literally just 1 second, because the animation isn't having enough time to finish playing. So let's just see how that looks. Why are you not waiting? We don't need that 1 second in there. What the fuck? Now it's not playing it. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to reduce that down to 3 seconds. I've not used the simple parallel, but we'll see what happens. Oh, you're being a bastard. I think I know why he's doing that. Because in here, we're setting a damaged player, so the moment that's set, it comes out of here. So the damage. Attack the player. I wonder if there's a way during the animation. Oh, how did I do this last time? I can't remember how I did this last time. Anim notify. I'm pretty sure I've got this on the walking. How did I add that in? Play sound. So that's play sound. There must be a way. Notifiers. There we go. There we go. Damaged player. So in here, oh, thanks for tuning in, Brave. I appreciate the spam view, even though you're a robot. Quite fitting, considering I'm working with a robot. The irony. The absolute irony. Irony. Okay, so what we're going to do is, in the animation, we're going to deal the damage, and then this bit, so basically we'll allow the animation to play, deal the damage, and then this bit will just set the what's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this logic then. I think this is going to, I've not actually made an animation notify before, but you saw I just went into blueprints, created, I found the anim notifier, created a custom one. We're adding a function for damage player. I absolutely love these two new videos or audio tracks I've added to my playlist while I'm streaming. Really chill music, guys. Right, so we're gonna target the health. Alright, so basically we're going to trigger this at the point the hand hits. So we're going in the damage player, we're going into the first person character, and we're targeting the health, we're deducting 2. So we're dealing 2 damage from the robot to the player. So if I now unplug that and just went straight into setting the key, we'll see if that works. So we're gonna trigger that there. I mean, to be honest, No, yeah, this will work. Why did that not... Wonder why that's not working. What I'm gonna do... I'm just gonna... see... Play sound. Parent class play sound. Reparent blueprint. I'm not sure on this one. Oh, how annoying. I don't think the event's triggering. Hmm. Surely. Animation sequence object reference. Oh my god. Why did all of my things just close? Why did all of the windows just close? That's a little bit worrying. Right, so we're in the... Oh, fuck me. What a pain in the arse. Right. Get the animation sequence. Oh. Yeah, if it's that. We don't want to have that. I'm just going to try this method. This basically... Because at the moment, this is happening. The only purpose for this at the moment, there has to be a more efficient way of doing this. The annoying thing is, I've done this in Unity, where play the animation. We don't want this to happen until the animation's finished. Fuck. When the player collides with the robot's thing, gets stunned. But we only really want to enable. You only want to enable this capsule if the robot has reached the player. Well, we'd redo that. We'd remove the socket. We'd add a second collider that acts as the one, because this collider blocks all. Damaged player, false. Oh man, I need to check my shoes. I don't know if I'm tired, but I know I can figure this out. Sugar's a tiny bit high. Let's pump some units, bring that down. We want the animation to play out. We want it to play out fully. Let's get rid of that nonsense. The problem is we need the damage. We want the damage to happen. We want the animation to play out and the damage to happen during that, and then this will set the ball to get the robot to do the other logic, the patrolling. So he basically attacks the player, the animation is allowed to play out, and then he buggers off and does his own thing. One easy solution is to just have something before the animation. So we do that. We play the animation, so the damage is inflicted. I think that's just the easiest option here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rename the... let me just copy that. I'm going to rename this to yeah, I'll just call that set immunity. Okay, so robot A, damage player. Cast to the first person character, deduct 2 health. Cast success, success. If it doesn't work, boom. And then in here, we can now get rid of that. So the set immunity, all that's doing is we're saying the player has been damaged. Trigger the immunity. So this gets us out of the logic on here. So it comes out of this branch and it will basically go into patrol. And then we do the immunity, which means here, damage immunity. After 5 seconds, we say the player's not damaged, which allows the player to re-enter the chase player logic. So I'm going to save that. Save, close that one. But the damaged player, that should only happen after I think it was 1 second. No, hold on. I don't know what's going to happen in that instance, because we're finishing it, but we're doing this. So I wonder, even though technically the flow will go straight from there to there to there, if this is executed, does that mean the task is scrubbed, it's gone, and this won't allow to play out? We'll see if it works, guys. We can only pray. You fucker. You bastard. Why? That must be what's happening then. tell you what, let's try something different. I'm not sure if this will work, but I do genuinely think it's because failing that, we can just do this as an event elsewhere. Don't really want to, but okay. You're being a bastard, so let's do it in here. Fingers crossed. Why did that happen straight away? I didn't put in the delay. What's a plonker? Willy Wonka, plonker. You sausage. There we go. Sorted. That looks good, doesn't it? So we need a sound effects for when the robot hits you. Okay, I'm just going to add that. Sound effects, receive damage. Okay, so this works nicely. After a delay, we do that. Let's look at the logic here. So we attack the player. Robot A damage player. Okay. So when we've got to the player, if the robot catches the player, I guess what we could do in the deal damage to player logic, I guess in the receive damage, we could put in the logic here for freezing the player. If I had that as a sequence, the first part being this, where we freeze the player, instead of it being based on the collider, or else the player's gonna just get stun locked all the time. So if I remove that capsule, I'm gonna get rid of that capsule. We're gonna go to the skeletal mesh of robot A, and we're gonna delete that stun socket. Save that, close that. Compile, save, and then yeah, we'll do a sequence. Don't be a dick, YouTube. They've clocked onto the music at Blocker. Right. So this is going to mean if the player reaches the oh my god. If the robot reaches the player, he's basically going to mess the player up. So the player will get frozen for 3 seconds, he'll get frozen. And then at the same time, after a 1 second delay, we deduct health, and that syncs up with the robot animation at the point it swings the hand. This triggers that event, so damaging the player. And that happens there. Then we have the animation. Then we set the immunity, which gets us out of that branch. So setting the immunity over here. That's all we do. So now that should work quite nicely. So let's give it a test. Right, I'm locked, can't move. That works really well. That works perfectly, doesn't it, guys? Very happy with that. Let's go get a creature. I'm gonna get my boys to playtest this tomorrow. Oh, he's focused the creature there. I'm just going to put the creature in a box. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it 4 seconds. See how that feels. Let's go 3.5. I'm really happy with that. Deals the damage, then he does his thing. 3.5 seconds soft lock, stun lock is really nice value, I think. Super happy with that. I know there are a couple of different methods I was trying there, guys, to get that working. We were in a few different trees there, a few different tasks, trying it out with the, even with the animation. You know, via notify. But ultimately, what's happening in the attack player sequence is we're dealing damage to the player, and that is through robot A damage player. So what this does is we're basically just triggering the receive damage custom event within the player, which is here. So a sequence of 2 parts. We basically deactivate the player being able to move, but they can still look around. So if you do get hit, you can still look around. So you just can't physically move from the spot. So we're doing a 3.5 stun lock, and then afterwards we're re-enabling player movement, and then immediately at the same time after this logic's run through, we're doing a 1 second delay and then deducting the health, and that 1 second is roughly the time that from the robot performing the attack animation, that's the point at which the hand basically collides with the player. So that makes it look, at the point you receive damage, it marries up with the animation of the robot. And then, yeah, so directly after that's happened, we play the animation and we've turned non-blocking off. So it will basically play that, and only once that's complete, it will then go into here where we set the player immunity. And what that does is quite simply we turn on the damaged player boolean on the blackboard, and what that does, it means we won't be able to enter this logic. So the robot will resort to the patrolling logic. Okay. I don't even think I need that 1 second wait node. Let me just check that. Yeah, I don't think we even need that. Yeah, we don't even need that 1 second thing. So yeah, so set immunity. What that one does is it turns the ball off, so we can't go in this branch anymore. And then it triggers the damage immunity custom event over here, which means after 5 seconds we turn that off, which means the robot can re-engage the player and chase them. So I think that it works flawlessly. There's no bugs, no errors, and it's a way of, well, getting it working. So we've basically set out what I wanted to achieve tonight. We've got, I think I did the health regen earlier on the player. The health regen is right up the top. So we just regenerate 1 HP cell every 15 seconds. And that's it basically. So this robot, all of his logic is now complete. So there's a couple more jobs left. Basically, we have another robot, which is this dude. And he essentially, he doesn't have any animations. He's not rigged. So his hands won't move. He'll just basically move around. So yeah, he's not meant to be animated. I didn't animate him because I wanted him to just be kind of just like a patrol robot. Whereas the other one, humanoid, I think he looks really cool. It's really nice having two different types of robots. This is almost like a maintenance bot in a way, whereas the other one's more like a guard robot. So, so what we need to do is fix the materials on that robot, because they're slightly. I just need to make sure those are the same. So I'd go into the other robot for that. So all of the logic is in there, guys. We've got all of the creature logic done. We've got the robot patrolling, spotting the player, spotting the creature. So 3 different branches there, and as you can see, I don't know if you'd call that complex, but it all works. And yeah, it's quite nice seeing that in action. So what we're going to do, I do need to go to bed, but tomorrow, what I will do is I will replicate all of this logic for Robot B. Robot B, he won't have the animations. All of the logic will essentially be the same, but in the section where it's kind of doing all of this, there's going to be, he basically moves really fast. He moves really fast. So when he spots the player, he's basically gonna just go for them. So there's like maybe there'll be like a short delay where we do a little VFX where he charges up and then he just goes for the player. Almost like Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, when he goes down, you spam the button, and then he does a speed roll. Almost a little bit like that in a way. So we'll make his movement speed quite fast, which means if you get spotted by him, you will take damage and potentially not be able to avoid it. So that's going to be quite funny. So I'm going to call the stream there, guys. I'm super happy with this. I hope you guys have been enjoying watching. We are literally almost at the end of this project. There's a couple of bug fixes to do. The radar bug fix needs sorting. I've got a few different areas in code that are handling the radar. So we just need to make sure that it's only ever visible if a creature is being escorted. Because yeah, the I just need to look at that. So radar bug fix, sort out the second robot. And then one other thing we need to do with the nav mesh is basically define areas that the robots are allowed to go to, because there's 4 sectors and those robots are only allowed to patrol a certain bit, or else we're going to have 4 robots across the whole map that are going to mess the player up. I mean, I've got the option of just placing the robots in their area and then letting them just roam around freely, but I wanted one for each sector, because if you've got multiple robots that go for the same creature, it's going to create all sorts of shit. So that is going to be a separate stream as well, sorting out the nav mesh. I'm going to call it there, guys. I will be back tomorrow afternoon, probably early afternoon, I reckon, or like 4 o'clock GMT time. So if you want to see more, tune back in then. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, feel free to follow on Twitch if you want to stay up to date. And if you want to see any previous streams I've done, feel free to check out my YouTube channel below. I've got playlists for Unreal, Unity and Blender. And if you want to play any games I've made, go check out my itch page. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next stream.